Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dr. Terri Show. It is part 2 of my conversation with Hamp. She is a certified neuro-linguistic programmer and trauma coach. And we talked previously just kind of about her story and just the traumas throughout her life and how they impacted her health with autoimmune disorders and weight and things like that. But today we're going to continue the conversation in focusing on health goals around weight and around our bodies and how we view ourselves physically, and how sometimes when we approach our health and wellness goals from the survival part of our brain instead of the connected part of our brain, how that can negatively impact our goals or really just derail our goals. So if you're one of those that's kind of yo-yo dieted all your life and you just can't seem to meet those goals fully, this might be an episode that'll really interest you. So join us in the conversation. All right, so we're going to do part 2 of our conversation. And thank you so much for that conversation. You know, now I'm sitting here listening to you, my wheels are just kind of turning, you know, and you're saying everything I already know because I've worked with Bob for several years now. So, but there's a whole nother part to your story that really has just blossomed over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And when I first saw you 2 or 3 years ago, and you know you were struggling with autoimmune disorder, and you weren't really happy with your physical, you know, with your body, with your weight. But those were the 2 big things.
Yeah.
And it's interesting just talking about on the previous show, just from a trauma perspective and just everything you dealt with through your life. Those things made sense that you were experiencing. Obviously, we've talked about the gut, and I've talked about on other shows, and even talked about with you how trauma impacts the gut. And you didn't have just one traumatic event; you had from your whole life, really, essentially. And so that's really where we started, and we did some things and we tweaked some things and we got some things going and we started some great peptides before they were taken away.
Yes.
But they're going to come back.
Months of those. I got
RFK,
a few months of those.
I'm counting on you.
Yes, come on, RFK.
Yeah, it's coming. But then something miraculous happened, and I just need to know, because next time I saw you, it was this cute, petite, long blonde hair, vibrant, just glowing. When you kind of walked through the door, I'm like, what are you taking? Because I need some of that stuff. But, and it's manifested into very quickly another amazing workshop, really, with workbooks and just all the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm really excited to talk to you about it really is because so many women come into our clinics and clinics across the country really complaining of so much of the same things you were. Now, maybe they didn't have the autoimmune stuff with the rheumatoid arthritis and all that kind of stuff, but they've had other manifestations. And I just would love to hear from, you know, where you are now and what's happened over the past 3 years. And let's just get into this stuff, because this is pretty fun.
It's so fun. I'm having so much fun. And it, you know, it's one of those things. If you look at it, like kind of what we were saying in the last episode is, you know, it looks like it could be overnight. Like if you know, but all of the counseling I did, all of the EMDR, all of the therapy I was doing, all of the internal work I was doing behind the scenes, you know, it was probably, 2018, I hit the heaviest weight I'd ever been. I was 190 pounds. I was almost 200 pounds. And I'd never, like, even pregnant, like, didn't even, with twins, I'd never even got close to that number. And I remember standing in front of the mirror and looking at myself, and I'm like, oh, I hate myself. I hate my body. I hate the way I look. I hate what I'm doing. And I had this moment where I'm like, hold on. And I'm pretty sure it was God saying this to me. I was like, but I hated my body when I was a size 0 and a size 2.
Yeah.
Like, I look back at pictures when I was in high school and college. I was never a chubby kid. I was scrawny. I was a tomboy. I was the kid falling out of trees and always had skin knees. I hated dresses. You know, it's like I was a tomboy until I got a little bit older. But it was like, wait, this isn't this isn't about my body. This is about my thought process. And so I hated myself at my largest. I hated myself at my smallest. So how can I start loving myself to health and changing that and taking ownership again of all the things that have caused so much damage, you know, because of the autoimmune. You know, it's like you think about I've spent a lifetime fighting against myself. So what is RA? What is an autoimmune disease?
Yeah, your body's fighting itself.
My body is doing exactly what I've been doing to myself the whole time.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you step back and become the observer and you look at this is what's happening. And so I started really doing the work, really, again, the EMDR, I just took my therapy up a whole other notch. And I remember the first time I discovered that I no longer was triggered. I volunteer for a ministry. I'm on their a red light rescue panel. It's Sower Seeds, and we have a huge evening of hope every year, and I help with that. And they show a video every year, and you know, these are girls that are trafficked, put in cages in Mumbai, India. You know, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds prostituted in Costa Rica. Just, you know, you hear that stuff, but it's the worst of the worst. And so there was this video, and the founder, they know my story. I've known them for a long time, and he came out to me. He's like, "Hey, Polly, you probably want to watch this video before, you know, so you can have a private screening because the story, one of the abuse stories that's in it, is similar to the bathtub scene that's in my book." And he's like, "And I just want you to know, like, I want you to watch it now so you
a heads up.
Can process it." And I was like, "Thank you, that's great." And I watched it, and I finished it. It was about a 12-minute film, and I was like, I'm not triggered.
Wow.
I'm not triggered. And it was incredible.
Yeah, that's
and that was
awesome.
like that first time where I'm like, I might be okay.
Yeah, wow.
I might actually get to experience the thing that I've always wanted to believe to be true. I think I'm going to get to experience that. And so that was full healing, where, you know, that doesn't mean I'm not going to have responses to things. That doesn't mean I'm not going to watch something that's going to be hard. But the triggers that would happen to me is like literally I would shut down for days.
It would take you out.
It would take me out. I could hardly function. It was, you know, I couldn't communicate it. I couldn't put words to things. And so like the triggers that I experienced were very intense and debilitating. And so I'm like, this opening of being able to have freedom and actually not be afraid of when am I going to be triggered the next time. And from there, just
what a gift.
Incredible gift. And from there, like, it just kept compounding of like, this is my new reality.
That's so cool.
My nervous system, you know, it takes a while to heal the nervous system.
We talked about that too.
And then doing, you know, just the holistic healing, getting the supplements, getting my, you know, because you can do all of the work outside, you know, internally, but there's also physical piece that you've got to get everything balanced. And so
those neurotransmitters in your brain, just everything from being in fight or flight for the majority of your life.
Yes.
You know,
cortisol, all of the chemicals that are rushing through. And so that was pretty much kind of the beginning of the realization of, wait, I'm not going to be triggered all the time.
Yeah.
And then moving into that, and then taking hold of my health. And instead of yo-yo dieting, because that's what I'd always done, it's like, okay, I have to do this. I have to do this. Well, this sounds good. And there have been some that have been actually really helpful, because we grew up in the whole fat is bad.
Yeah.
And don't eat fat.
Yep.
Because it'll, you know, make
fat
you fat.
Makes fat.
Yeah, it's like
just so not true.
So not true. Like, you should see how much fat I eat today.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I'm aging backwards because of how I've changed my diet.
Yeah.
But it is that thing, is like, once I got all the different elements in place, I feel like I've literally aged backwards.
Yeah. Well, you look it for
thank
sure.
you.
Yeah, you look it for sure.
And it's been so fun.
So, I just remember one day Bob saying, well, Polly started 75 hard. And he wasn't really happy about it. But it was kind of kicked off a lot of things. I don't think it kicked off. I don't know where the realization
was a big deal for me.
Yeah, it was a big deal. And so, so you mentioned a key piece of any kind of attempt at making positive health changes. You have to heal the wounded spirit.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Because if you don't heal those wounds, you're just going to keep in the spiral.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yes. Well, you think about, if you think about just like very simple brain science, you've got your survival and then your thriving, connectedness, you're living fully alive. And so we can do everything from one of those places. And so if we're doing a diet, if we're eating healthy, it's like, okay, I'm going to do carnivore, I'm going to do a Whole30, I'm going to do whatever. We can either do that from the survival part of our brain that's triggered, that's, scratching the itch, that's, I got to lose all this weight or I'm going to be, or shame and all that.
Or bathing suit, see this is coming.
Exactly, and I hate my body, and like, look at my dimples, and, it's all of that. Or we can navigate it at the connected part of our brain, and it's like, it's mindset too. It's growth and fix. It's all of that. It's like when I can do it from the connected part of my brain, and be connected to self, and be connected to what I'm doing for health. Now if you're starving yourself, or you're only eating cabbage soup and it's not balanced, do you remember that diet?
Oh yeah.
So many smelly people. And, but it's like, those are scratch the itch, kind of downstairs part of your brain survival. But it is that thing of like, when I did 75 hard, and I had literally studied this for 2 years. I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm like, no, I'm not. That's dumb. Like, Mom, I'm going to do it. It's like, no. But the reason why I did it wasn't, I knew there would be health benefits. I knew, but the thing that I wanted was, I wanted the mental strength. I wanted the discipline. Because I've done a lot of things that had discipline, but this was something that I'm like, I'm so curious. This level of discipline, doing this, what am I going to experience at the end? And how will I see myself in a different way? Yeah. And it was radical. Yeah. It was, I couldn't believe I did it, especially the first time through.
Yeah, you usually did it all the way.
I did it all the way. Usually people start it and it's like, wait, but I'm like, I'm going to do this. I have to do this. There's something really important about this for me to do. Yeah. And so I did it. And Bob was so supportive, because you can't, like, he didn't want to do it. He's like, no way, that's crazy. I'm like, you're right. It is crazy, but I got to be doing this for some reason.
And we were just talking about this earlier on a break, just how important it is when one partner is really wanting to do something in the support of the other one, and not shaming them for it, or, all of that. And that was probably huge to the success. So that was kind of a catalyst. And then walk through where you got to that birthed this program that has really just lit you up.
Yeah. So I did 75 hard. I think it was the beginning of 2024. We actually branded Think Differently About Health 2 years ago. But I did not feel congruent with my message. Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm excited about it and I want to do it, and I don't know necessarily what it's going to look like. However, I know that that's something that's out here that I'm going to get to, because there's something really important about it. And so, for 2 years, just now, I think it's been like 2.5, we were driving back from some conference we were doing, and it's like, gosh, we should do a health initiative. It's like, we know some stuff, but I'm like, we don't know enough stuff yet. It's like, I'm not congruent with my message yet. And so, but within this last year and all the different, getting my internal health aligned, the emotional, mental, physical, all of that, just feeling the shift, not being triggered, just all of the things just finally came together. And then the message came together of going, okay, there's so many people who like, I just want to lose weight. I just want to be skinny. I'll do anything. Or you're skinny or the size that you want to be, but you hate your body. And you look at yourself, and it's that thing. I hated myself at my largest. I hated myself at my smallest.
Which is body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
Which leads to eating disorders. And people, when they think of eating disorders, think of anorexia, bulimia, or maybe, overeating. But really, it's the yo-yo dieting.
Yes.
It's all of that is disordered, because if you think about the word, it's disordered eating.
Correct.
You're not doing it for the right reasons.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and it is, but you're just trying to fix something that's broken,
Right.
that you think is broken,
Right.
And it's like, and a lot of times that's just the lens and how you see yourself,
Right.
But the lens has been so distorted because of the trauma,
Right.
and or belief systems, things that you were told as a child. It's like, I remember, my mom and my granny and all this, they would do like these ridiculous exercises to stay skinny. And I'd watch them, and my mom was beautiful, beautiful body, very tiny. She was danced, all that kind of stuff. And she hated her body. And she would look at herself in disgust. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that to my girls.
Yeah.
And so I may not have said all the words, but they watched me yo-yo diet, and they watched me how I looked at my body. And so maybe I never said like, oh, I'm so fat. And I probably did.
Yeah.
But they watched me hate me.
Yeah.
And so it's that thing. It's like, if we hate ourselves, no matter what size you are, that's body dysmorphia.
Yep.
And whatever disorder comes with that, however you try to manage it, that is from that survival part of the brain where you're triggered in your fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, fix.
Yep.
And so it's that taking that, into the think differently about health and doing today is really working on the mental and emotional aspects of healing.
Love it.
Because you and Evexias, and it's like balancing the gut, balancing, you talk about very much, it's like, hey, there is this element of past traumas that have your body responding to the way it does today.
Yep.
And so, but get all of those in order, and then do your emotional work.
Yep.
It's like a ta-da or something else. Whatever you decide to do the work, because that's where you get to have freedom.
Well, and I love what you're saying about the why, because, it sounds like you really have to examine the why behind it. Why am I doing this?
Yes.
Because I want to be a size 4 or 2 or whatever, or 8 or whatever you are? Or is it because, I want the world to see me differently? Is it because I want to see me differently? Like, the why is so important, because it's probably not a good why.
Yeah.
And I think that I love what you're saying about having to figure out how to love yourself.
Yeah.
No matter where you are, and then getting to where you want to be from a health perspective, not from a size visual perspective, but truly from a health perspective. It's got to be a lot easier when you are content in where you are.
Yes, because your lens changes.
Yeah.
Because, body dysmorphia causes us to see ourselves the way we don't want to see ourselves. And so whatever that is, being overweight or too skinny or whatever it is, it's a lens. And in doing that internal work gives you a different lens.
Right.
And
yeah. Well, and, I was just thinking too, body dysmorphia doesn't just come in a size.
No.
It comes in, my lips are too small, my eyes I want blue eyes, whatever. It could be, and people go at it in multiple different ways with surgeries and cosmetic procedures and all the different things. So I'm all about some Botox and some enhancement. That's not what I'm talking about, ladies. There's nothing wrong with that. But there is a form of body dysmorphia that does come with overdoing things.
Yes.
Invasive to your body, not just eating. So tell me about the program.
Okay. So ta-da. Think Differently About Health is right now, it's a course and it's online. And so people can go through it at their
and we'll have the link in the bio.
Thank you. And right now I'm taking 2 groups through. It's an 8-week process. Now, it is, it's longer than that. I did a beta group back in August, and several people are going through it again just because, the first time it's that shifting and understanding, and the second time you get to absorb it in a different way.
Right.
And
and it's got to be such a journey because most of us didn't get here, in 8 weeks.
Right.
Right. And that's
Exactly.
just... I used to work with a doctor that he would say that same thing. And he's like, well, you didn't get to 200 pounds overnight. You're not going to get to 130 pounds, overnight. It's the same thing with healing wounds or healing that little, hurt person inside that's got the issue.
Exactly. And it is the focus on it. And even though it's really pointed to health and all that, and if you want to lose weight, it's a great part of that journey,
a program.
The program, or you just want to love your body and have a different lens because you realize how you look at yourself and it's so distorted and so hateful. And it's really this process of understanding what's going on in your brain, the survival part of the brain and the connected part of the brain, and then your internal dialogue. We talk about moving from dependence to independence. Really, there's that place of it's so hard when you have trauma and all that. We just want to blame everybody else for what's happened. And crappy things have happened, and at some point you have to get to, I'm going to say get to. You get to decide to take ownership of that and say, that was crappy, and I'm no longer going to blame other people for it.
Not going to let it define me.
Yeah, I'm going to take responsibility and heal myself. And that shift from, being dependent on other people affecting your emotional state
it's good.
is a shift of moving into independence.
Yeah,
and then
victim to victor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then talking about family of origin.
Yeah.
What are the family of origin patterns? What are your belief systems around food and body image and all of that? And usually that's not something you just came up with.
Yeah.
It stemmed from what you learned about yourself at a really young age. And so it's really this process, and this is just level 1, really a process of learning about yourself, having language for what's really going on, and then also different ways to navigate and heal. And for me, like, had I had a program like this, because this is something I take all of my clients through that I work with one-on-one. And so having a program like this is great. And if you have severe trauma, please also go get counseling.
Yeah.
Because of, doing EMDR, doing some things that really rewire your nervous system, even though the processes in TADA help rewire the nervous systems, it's just another layer of it.
Yeah, it's multifactorial. There's a lot of spokes to that wheel.
Yes.
And just like we've been kind of talking about all the spokes to this wheel of weight loss, it's the beginning of the year, and this is, and then we'll get into, pre-summer season, and it's, it's the focus. It's all about, this cycle. But there's a lot of spokes to this wheel of gaining health, and it's emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical. It's all those aspects of it. So what I'm understanding is, no matter the fitness program you may be on or whatever, even if you don't believe you've really ever had any trauma, if you've struggled with, weight fluctuations and yo-yo dieting and not really loving what you see in the mirror, whether you're male or female, it might be something to explore.
Yes.
Walking out where some of these thought processes may have come from so you can correct that, lay down some new neural pathways in the brain,
Yes.
tell a different story to your body, and then have success in whatever health endeavors that you're endeavoring towards.
Exactly. Because like I said earlier, you can either do all the things from the survival part or from the connected part.
Right.
And one of the things I do want to say is, yes, it's a course, and you go through an 8-week course, but it's also a community.
Mm-hmm.
And because community is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And so hearing other people's stories, struggles, experiences, celebrations, all of the things. And every week I do live coaching. And so, it's not just a community of, hey, how's it going? But every Monday, as of right now, I do live coaching for an hour, and it's topical. So it's on top of all the topics that are in level 1 right now. But we talk about everything from setting boundaries to withdrawals, because that is a thing.
Yeah.
I quit coffee 18 days ago because the dairy is a gateway, coffee and dairy. And inflammation are, dairy for me and inflammation's not a good mix. And so the withdrawals are wicked.
Yeah.
And, so talking about just different things like that, but it's one of those things. It's not just a course that you spend 8 weeks going through. It is a supportive community with a growing library of resources and all kinds of information to just help you be connected and heal and live from a place of true full body freedom.
Yeah, that's amazing. And abundance.
It's
and
fun.
Well, I would encourage our listeners to, if they're interested in your story, to find the book Cherished by Polly Hamp, Shattered Innocence, Restored Hope. I mean, it's so good. I've read all 3 versions.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, it's kind of fun to see the
progression.
The progression, and then if they're interested in Think Differently About Health, looking for that link. And also, I would just say, go look at some older pictures of Polly. You're beautiful, but it is interesting. You are doing some things backwards in a good way.
Yes.
And it's just, and I think too, what keeps coming to mind for me as we're talking is, this is what happens when you walk into your purpose.
Yes.
When you walk into your purpose and who you were designed to be, that's when you just light up.
Yeah.
I love teaching. I love leading. I love speaking, translating information. I've been told I'm pretty okay at it.
I'm sure.
But
you're great at it.
But I get people ask me after our training, after our conferences, and I've been speaking for 2 days, aren't you just exhausted? Aren't you just worn out? I'm like, no, it energizes me. And that's how you know that you're in your gift, is it energizes you. It lightens you. It's not a burden. And so I'm always pushing people towards that gift. And it doesn't have to be something like creating a program or getting on a stage and speaking. I mean, it could be something as, just crosswalking and saying hello and engaging with people. I mean, it doesn't have to be this big, massive thing that's changing the world, but there's even little things that can just change your community or your small world or even your family. And I think that purpose probably, it can shift and change in different seasons in our life, but we're all walking towards it and just being aware of it. And so I'm really excited and proud of you, and grateful that I was able to have you on to talk about it.
I so appreciate you having me. Yeah, enjoyed it very much.
Thank you.